Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Kerry. Today I'll be showing you how to crochet a little girl. When crocheted in 8-ply wool, this one here, the size is 15.5 centimetres by 13 centimetres or 6 inches by 5 inches. When crocheted in 4-ply crochet cotton, this one, the size is 8.5 centimetres by 6 centimetres or 3¼ inches by 2½ inches. I'll be using 8-ply wool today, which is light worsted in the US and double knit in the UK. I've got black, cream, blue, and I'll be using the tiniest bit of white. I've got a 3mm crochet hook, scissors, a darning needle to weave in the ends, black and red thread to embroider on the eyes and the mouth, and I've got black, white and blue thread to stitch a girl together. I've got a sewing needle and I'll be using a couple of beads to stitch flowers to the girl. Now I'm starting on the head and then I work the neck and the arms all in one piece. I've got my cream and I make a magic loop. For a magic loop I put the hook on my yarn, bring the short end over the hook and then take the long end over the short end, put the yarn around my hook and bring the hook with the yarn through the circle. And there's my magic loop. Then I work one chain. Into my circle I'm going to work 8 single crochet. A single crochet is called a double crochet using UK terms. For a single crochet I put the hook in through the circle from the front and bring back a loop, yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through the 2 loops. I need 7 more single crochet into my circle. Once I've got my 8 single crochet into the circle, I pull the circle tight. So I take hold of the tail and ease it in as tight as I can, and I join with a slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. So I put my hook in the stitch, bring through a loop and take it straight through the loop on my hook. For row 2 I start with one chain and I work 2 single crochet into each stitch around. And then join with a slip stitch in the top of the first stitch. For the neck, I work one chain and work 1 single crochet in the same stitch as a chain and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. For row 2, I start with one chain and turn, and I work 2 single crochet into each of the 2 stitches. Now I'm going to start on the first arm. I start with 9 chain, then I miss the first chain and work 1 half double crochet into each chain to the end. A half double crochet is a half treble using UK terms. For a half double crochet, put the yarn around the hook, hook into the stitch, so the second stitch from the hook, and bring through a loop. Yarn around the hook and take the hook with the yarn at the end through all the loops. And we need 1 half double crochet into each remaining chain. And then just twist the head around and work 1 single crochet into the next stitch along the neck, and then work a single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And that's the head and the first arm done. For the second arm, we start with 9 chain, we miss the first chain and work 1 half double crochet into each remaining chain. Slip stitch into the next stitch on the side and fasten off. And that's the head, neck and arms done. For the dress, we start on the bodice. So using my blue, I'm going to work 6 chain. For row 1, I miss the first chain and work 1 single crochet into each stitch to the end. For row 2, I start with 1 chain and turn my work, and I work 1 single crochet into each of the 5 stitches. For row 3, we start with 3 chain and turn. We work 1 double crochet in the same stitch as a chain, that first stitch there. A double crochet is called a treble using UK terms. For a double crochet, put the yarn around the hook into the stitch and bring up a loop. Yarn around the hook, take the hook with the yarn through 2 loops, yarn around the hook, take the hook with the yarn through the remaining 2 loops. Then we work 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, a single crochet into the following stitch, then a half double crochet into the next stitch, and 2 double crochet into the last stitch. And fasten off. And that's the bodice. Now we're going to do the skirt of the dress. So we turn it over and we join our yarn in the first stitch at the other side of our tail. So just in there. And we start with 3 chain. And we're going to work 2 double crochet into each of our 5 stitches. For row 2, we start with 3 chain and turn our work. We work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, then we work 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and we'll work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. So 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch. And work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. For row 3, we start with 3 chain and turn. We work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and we'll work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. So after our 2 double crochet into the first stitch, we work 1 double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch. And work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. For row 4, we start with 3 chain and turn our work. We work 2 double crochet into the first stitch, one double crochet into each stitch to the last stitch, and we'll work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. And we work 2 double crochet into the last stitch. And that's the dress done, except for a neatening row. For the neatening row, I work 1 slip stitch into each stitch around the sides and the top. So I put my hook into the stitch, bring through a loop and take it straight through the loop on my hook. So I'll continue working a slip stitch into each stitch until I get back to the bottom, and I'll see you then. When we get to the bottom, we fasten off. And that's the dress done. I'll start on the hair now. I do this top part and then I'll add plaits when I'm making it up. I've got my black and I start with a magic loop and work 1 chain and work 4 single crochet into my circle. I pull the circle tight, but I don't join. I've got a half circle. row 2, I start with 1 chain and turn my work, and I work 2 single crochet into each of the 4 stitches. And that's the hair. I'm going to work a row of slip stitch around the edge. I'm going to start with 1 chain and work a slip stitch in that first stitch just to give it a bit of a corner, and then work 1 slip stitch in each stitch across the bottom, the flat side. I'll just try to pull the circle in a bit more, and then work a slip stitch into each stitch across to the corner. And then a slip stitch into each stitch around the half circle. For appliques, I use a finer hook than I normally would with the yarn, because I don't want to have too many holes in my work, so it's a bit harder to crochet with. Then slip stitch into the corner and fasten off. And that's the hair done. Now for the legs, they both work the same. I've got my cream and I work 8 chain. I miss the first chain and work 1 single crochet into each chain to the end. And then I work 1 slip stitch into the back of each chain. Just up to the top and fasten off. And that's the first leg done. The second legs work the same. We start with 8 chain. We miss the first chain and work 1 single crochet into each of the remaining chain. And then work 1 slip stitch into the back loop of each chain. Then slip stitch into the top and fasten off. Now for the shoes, I'm using my blue. I make a magic loop, work 1 chain and work 4 single crochet into the circle. Pull the circle tight and then work 1 slip stitch into each stitch across the top, across that flat section. And fasten off. The other shoes work the same. We make a magic loop, work 1 chain and work 4 single crochet into our circle. Pull the circle tight and work 1 slip stitch into each stitch across the flat piece. And fasten off. Now for this flower, we make a magic loop. We work 1 chain and slip stitch into the circle, and we repeat that 4 more times. So 1 chain and slip stitch into the circle, and 3 more times. Pull the circle tight and fasten off. And that's a small flower. Now I'll make a white flower to put on the dress. So I make a magic loop and work one chain and slip stitch into my circle, and I repeat that 4 more times. So one chain and slip stitch into the circle. Pull the circle tight and fasten off. Now you could leave your dress plain if you'd prefer, or decorate it any way you'd like. Now I'll just weave in my ends and I'll be back and we'll put it together. Now I've got a dress, the head and arms, a flower for the hair, 2 legs, 2 shoes and a flower for the dress. The first thing I'll do is crochet a length of chain just to go round the waist of the dress. So I've got some white yarn. You could just use ribbon if you'd prefer, or it really wouldn't need to have a sash. Now that's enough for that. So I'll stitch that on the dress and I'll attach the flower onto it as well. I'll stitch the shoes to the end of the legs, just on the more curvy end, and I've got some yarn. I've got 6 strands of my yarn I use for the hair, and I've tied it in the middle, and I'm going to plait it using 4 strands each. So just plait it together like that. Now I'll have 2 plaits. Now that's probably about long enough. I've done a plait already, and I'll attach that to the hair. It just goes at the side there. Just stitch them on evenly. So I'll do that and I'll be back. The next things I'll do is attach the hair to the head. The fringe goes to about the centre circle there, and I'll attach the legs to the dress just evenly about there. Next, embroider eyes and a mouth onto the face. Attach the dress just in like that, and then attach the flower to the hair. I'll do that and I'll be back to show you the finished girl. And there's the finished girl. If you've liked my video, please like, subscribe and share. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest and Twitter. The details are in the description below, along with the details of my website where I have my patterns, the details of my Facebook group and the details of my Patreon. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.